Today I am going to show you how to use the big data tool inside of Trademate. We get a lot of questions about how are you doing on football versus basketball, how are you doing on Unibet on football or on Norsk Tipping. So to answer questions like this, we made a big data tool which looks at all the trades placed by the Trademate users. You can find the big data tool on the left hand side of the menu, and once you get inside, in the beginning you will see your own stats. So it just looks like the same as the analytics tool, but the difference between them is that in the analytics tool you can analyze your own results, but in the big data tool it will show trades from all of our users. Let's go ahead and have a look at let's say how we have been doing on Unibet. In general, I would recommend trying to specify the presets a bit, because even though it's interesting to have a look at the overall data, you wouldn't necessarily actually want to trade, for instance, higher odds ranges. Even though an edge is still an edge at, let's say, 10 in odds, placing bets at 10 in odds will dramatically increase your variance. So I would not recommend doing it unless you have the patience to wait out the good and the bad luck to even out on those higher odds ranges. But let's start and just have a look at what it looks like with a super open preset. Alright, so at Unibet we are pretty much spot on where we would expect it to be. We can see the green line, which is the closing EV, which is what is expected, and we can see the blue line, which is the actual profits from the user bets. And here there are a couple of things to note. One, we had to put in a maximum limit on the number of trades that each of these presets would show. Otherwise, it would just take forever to load, since we have quite a large amount of data in our database in total. So the limit is at 10,000 trades. I'm a bit lucky, so I have a limit at 40,000 currently. In the big data tool, we are using flat stakes, and that is to remove the effect that a user with a very, very large bankroll would have, because then if they place a bet of 10,000 euros on a game, to use an extreme example, then that would skew the data a lot versus a user who places like 100 euros on a game. So therefore we show all results with a flat 1 unit stake sizing. So this is independent of which currency you have selected. There the total profit is 1,077 units. We are also including all trades placed by our users on a game. So this can skew the data a little bit. If, for instance, if a lot of users place the same bet in game which is winning, and then it will screw it a bit upwards. And if all of our users are placing the same bet on a game that is losing, then it will skew it a bit downwards. But overall, once the sample size is decent, it shouldn't really matter. So just be aware of that if the preset you are looking up has a small sample size. So what we expect to see when we run this is basically that the green line, or closing EV, aligns with our ROI over time. Now, if you're using smaller sample sizes, then it can vary a lot more. Then randomness will play a role, so it's more difficult to draw certain conclusions from it. Let's go ahead and try to narrow it in a bit, which is recommended in general, especially with regards to the 10,000 games limit. So if we want to have a look at how we are doing on soccer with a minimum edge of let's say 1.5%, we're looking all the way up to 100, and we want to limit ourselves to 0 to 8 hours before kickoff. So that's still doing pretty good. And if we want to have a look at how we are doing at a different bookmaker, we can also change that. So that is how to use the big data tool. And also this was a bit of an interesting result, because here we can see that the total number of games on Norsk Tipping on football within the time range we selected was 10,565. So it's below the max limit I have. So basically now I'm showing all of the trades our users have registered on this range. Now, as we can see, if our sample size was only 3,000 bets, then we could be drawing the wrong conclusion that this is not looking profitable at all. But as we can see, as the sample size grows, the results are starting to move towards the green line, which is exactly what we would expect. And also, since we are a Norwegian-based company and we have quite a bit of Norwegian users, it is likely that they will be placing more trades on the same game on our tipping. So that could also partially explain like some of the big downswings and upswings that we see in this graph. Let's try to zoom out a little bit more and just set a super open preset and have a look at everything that's being placed in our tipping. Right, so now we have an even larger sample size of 14,600 bets. And as we can see now, it's starting to pretty much line up.